hear ye, the court of public opinion is now open. And who do you think is the accused? Well, have a think. And yeah, it's them. Welcome to Quick Stop F1. My name is Nyasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. And I am here today with news that several sources have claimed that the FIA's regulation update relating to asymmetric braking has been the cause of Red Bull's downfall since China, their lack of pace. Has there been nefarious activities? Has there been scandalous activities? How do we know that these regulations have even been put in place to nerf Red Bull? Have they been exploiting loopholes? Who knows? But before we get into all of that, what the actual fuck are these regulations? Let's check it out. Now, I could explain to you the new regulation update, but look, you know me, I'm an absolute idiot. I've got no clue about these things. But you know who does? Molly Oxner, F1 Tech absolute Don Dada, who was conveniently on a pretty special podcast on a pretty special platform just last week, explaining absolutely everything. So, with no further ado, Molly, take it away.
So there wasn't anything about this previously. This was a new kind of passage added in 11.1 of the technical regulations that basically just says, do you want me to read this verbatim? Otherwise I won't.
Sure, yeah.
Basically, any system or mechanism which can produce systematically, so that's where the system does it itself, and I as a driver, as a team, I don't do anything, or intentionally, so button press, or the team actually does this in a setup, produce asymmetric braking torque for an axle is forbidden. And so what that means, and kind of out of regulation language, that means I cannot put something on my car that will make right front, left front, right rear, back rear per axle on the car. The front to back is still okay with the bias, but I can't have one or the other. And a lot of people will know this. It's called like vectoring. And vectoring is something that is allowed in Formula One with the torque mapping and the differential. But now we're not allowed to basically brake vector, if that makes sense, in a way outside of just front to back.
Thank you very much. And if you want to see more of that episode, my editor, Chris, will put a link just up there for you to check it out. Now, another tech expert, Craig Scarborough, seems to believe that, based on what Molly's saying and what the update is saying, that there was a potential valve in the back of the car that, when put pressure on by the steering and the forces created, essentially created an asymmetrical braking bias using that pressure, so that essentially, let's say we're turning this way, the left rear wheel would create a bit more pressure, almost allowing someone to handbrake turn into corners, meaning you could probably brake later. You wouldn't have to roll the car in. And obviously, look, we know someone like Max Verstappen loves a bit of front end, loves being able to jerk that car in, make it go wherever he wants to go. And if there was such a device on his car, that would be extremely helpful. Apparently so. Not just a pretty face. But everyone's asking, I'm sure you're asking, what the hell does this have to do with Red Bull? Well, I guess it's a case of circumstance, happenstance, and I guess coincidence that Red Bull won the first 4 out of 5 races dominantly. I mean, they were absolutely shitting on everyone on the grid. It was a massacre. We were all here thinking, wow, could Max Verstappen repeat the feats that he did in 2023, where he was completely dominant? I think only one other team won a race, and that was Carlos Sainz in Singapore. So we're thinking this is the same. This is where things are going to go. However, that one race he did not win was Australia. What happened in Australia? A DNF. Why was there a DNF? Well, it was a braking issue on one of the rear brakes. And in fact, Max even said that it was driving with the handbrake on. And since then, McLaren, Mercedes have caught Red Bull up to what seems like essentially a second a lap in swing of Red Bull losing pace, McLaren and Mercedes, who have put upgrades on their car, let's not forget, have moved forward. So this swing in performance that has happened, how has that happened? Could it just be that Red Bull, who have tried their own updates, they don't seem to have worked, have just been caught up by the field, or is there more at play? More, I guess, typical examples of something like this that's happened in the past. Let's take a look at Ferrari. In 2019, these guys were absolutely nowhere until after the summer break. They came back and magically had this absolute rocket power of an engine that breezed through people. We saw them win in Belgium. We saw them win in Monza. I think we saw them win in Singapore as well. And then everyone was like, hang about this engine. These guys have come out of nowhere. And it seemed that there was obviously, I think it was a fuel valve, fuel sensor thing, which essentially allowed them to put more fuel into the engine, which obviously would make it go quicker, which was absolutely deemed illegal. An out of court, out of sports sort of settlement occurred, a rule change occurred. Ferrari to this day still deny that they were doing anything wrong, but a technical directive was put in place. Ferrari's pace magically disappeared again. And people are saying this is a similar situation to Red Bull. A directive has come in, the pace has gone, they're denying it happened, but is it too much of a coincidence to be true? For what it's worth, there's absolutely zero proof that Red Bull have actually done anything wrong, okay? And they've come out and essentially denied everything. In fact, Twitter troll and lead mechanic for Red Bull, Callum Nicholas, has come out and said that this is bullshit, bruv. In fact, he's not your bruv. Don't say that. But he's come out and said that it's bullshit. And in the words of Richard Keys and Andy Gray, if anyone's going to have been hanging out the back of that RB20, it's going to have been Callum. He's going to have seen very clearly the parts that are on that car, not on that car, and he's got intricate knowledge of it. So we should take him at face value. And as he says, he's been building the car for the last 14 races. We haven't. So we can sit here in front of our cameras, we can draw our little diagrams, we can say what we want, but if someone from the team says that it didn't happen, then of course it didn't happen, right? But the thing is, the thought on everyone's lips is, why publish this now? I guess if it happened around China or just after China, why not publish this regulation update now? Why have, the regulation updates happened now during the summer break, but the issues were happening ages ago, right? Like if it was really an issue then they would have closed it off then and they would have let us know then. And if Red Bull really were told to take it off the car, or anyone, surely we would have heard about this quicker. So that again adds more credence to the fact that maybe this isn't actually linked to one team. And look, sometimes people go to the FIA and they ask, is this legal? Can we do this? Sometimes people suspect someone else is doing it, and the FIA say, well, if they are doing that, that's illegal. Put in a directive. We don't know why this update has happened. It has happened. However, this is the same team, okay, that when we think about it and we think about teams that have received favorable treatment from the FIA. Look, I'm just saying, this is the same team that pretty much got away with the cost cap in 2021, or which led to their car in 2022 being breaching the cost cap and benefiting. Look, that car was a rocket ship. The punishment for exceeding the budget due to their catering was, a fine. There was no sporting penalties, other than the fact that their technical time for them to develop the car was restricted. But given that the car was so quick, and we saw what happened with the 2023 car, doesn't really seem like much of a punishment. Also, I guess, this is the team that benefited from the most fraudulent championship ever, whether we like to admit it or not. Michael Massey had his pants, pulled down by Jonathan Wheatley, now boss at Audi, and that's another instance of the FIA. They didn't reverse that decision. They said it was a sporting error. We all have to go on with our lives, and that's that. But again, Red Bull benefiting from the FIA. And lest we not forget, the head of the FIA, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, previously saying to Christian about the cost cap era, which they published on Drive to Survive, so they're pretty happy with that coming out, that he was Christian's only friend in that saga. Again, these are things which, look, I'm clutching at straws. It's a straw man arguments, but there's such a lack of trust with the FIA relating to Red Bull, and stuff like this fuels that. Look, if it was another team, then fine. I think people would kind of not dismiss it. But you look at the fall from grace of Red Bull in terms of their pace since China, and it's clear that something's gone wrong with the car, and potentially maybe this is it. But look, as much as I want to say that these guys are guilty, that these guys are guilty as charged, we need to do something about it. The fact of the matter is there's just not enough proof right now for anyone to make an absolute definitive judgment, yes or no, on whether Red Bull were actually the ones who the FIA changed the rules regarding. And we have to accept that. And hopefully, over the course of the rest of the summer break, we'll hear more. But for now, with my hater heart on, of course, I think they're guilty as fuck. I think they did it. But with my absolute normal head on considering it, it just feels like a lot of summer break, silly season, rumors going on. We've not really got much else to talk about. The evidence that's there is circumstantial evidence. We've not got any hard evidence so far. Now, look, let me tell you right now, I'm on my knees for that hard evidence. Oh my God, give me that rock hard evidence, baby. Here, I need that. I need that expeditiously. But until then, Red Bull, not guilty for now. If you liked what you watched, if you agree with that, if this is something that you would like to comment on, then do it down below. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out videos all year and next year and the year after and the year after, because that's what we do. So if you like what we do, subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers. Help us get there. It would be greatly appreciated. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Until next time, take care. Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quickstop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.